Hail the Four-Armed Emperor? Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Toast Hammer. Now, Admech has been in the dumpster, on fire, for, well, since the edition released, and it's not looking like it's going to get better anytime soon. So what are we to do? Let's paint a freaking Genestealer Cultist. Now, I wanted my faction to resemble not only people heavily indoctrinated into the nefarious cult of the Genestealer influence, but also just be kind of normal, disenfranchised Imperial citizens. Because let's be honest, being someone in the Imperium in Warhammer, it's a bad time. And I wanted to represent that by having these folks, even the people who are indoctrinated, be wearing just kind of normal gear. The backstory of my planet is that they are a promethium mining facility getting fuel for the Imperium. And I wanted to reflect that in their basing and also their paint scheme. So, getting started with this model primed black, I used the Void War basing set that came out with the latest Kill Team season? I guess it's a season. And I really like this set. I think it has some really interesting things going on with like the depth of the bases. There's a lot of nice little details, and I think it represents the kind of grim, dark, gothic architecture of a more industrial 40k setting quite well. Now, I did not go with a Zenithal Prime on this because I figured a lot of the model would eventually be black. More on that later. But I almost immediately made a big mistake by doing this. And we'll get into that with our first coat, which is going to be our classic Stonewall Gray. One of my favorite gray colors. It's just has really solid coverage, a nice kind of warm gray tone, and yeah, it's just an overall a great paint. After finishing covering the model with our gray, including parts that would be other lighter colors, let's see, can you spot my mistake? See it? Don't see it? I'll give you a hint. The whole freaking thing is gray. So I really should have just primed this with gray spray paint and gone from there, which is what I'm going to do with my future models. This is why having a test model can be really important, so you can get all of these bugs and kinks out of your painting process to streamline everything later. After that was done, I handled the armor plates, which I decided to make baby blue. I had to have a good think about this. I wanted something high visibility, but if they're mining and kind of being a derrick planet getting promethium, they're probably surrounded by a lot of potentially fires. And I don't think like yellow or orange, the normal high vis colors, would really be all that useful in a fire situation. So I went with a contrasting light blue to hopefully drive that narrative forward that is still high visibility and is also going to be providing contextual high visibility to their specific situation on the planet. After that blue was all done and applied, I went forward with the metallics, just doing a quick gunmetal over all of the metallic bits. There's quite a few, but they're also pretty big and chunky. Honestly, this section went by a lot faster compared to my Admech troops, and we already have pretty much a battle-ready miniature after doing a quick skin tone, in which I tried to do a couple of like highlights and pointing out like the beginnings of some forehead ridges. It ended up honestly not mattering at all. I'm probably not going to bother doing that for the rest of these neophytes, because there's going to be like probably 60 of them. But after that was done, I wanted to take the model a bit further, and that meant post-market, aftermarket modifications to their armor plates. Because baby blue is it's not really a color you want when you want to be stealthy and sneaky. So I'm thinking that these guys, the night before the day of Ascension, they get home from work and immediately start blacking out their armor, painting it themselves in order to make it a more, well, tactical choice when trying to overthrow the local governments. So I took out a decent sized brush and started stippling black over the armor plates and any other blue spots, leaving a little bit here and there to kind of hint that it's a slapdash job, while also just letting it give that small pop of contrast among all of the black and gray that is most of this model. After that is done, we get to one of my favorite steps. It's grime time, baby. But wait, streaking grime, well, that wash is reserved by my Admech. I wanted to try a different effect, and I had some engine oil effects and also a kerosene leak effect, which is the one I decided to try out for this paint job. Because, well, they're mining Promethium. It's kerosene, essentially. That's basically what it is. So I slathered that all over the model, waited a bit for it to cure, and then came back with some mineral spirits and either a brush or a sort of makeup remover to sponge away the excess, letting it soak into the recesses. After waiting about 24 hours for it to fully cure, I was surprised but content with the results. It's a little bit glossier than I expected coming out, but it is a nice kind of neutral black wash that does come across as if this guy just came out of, I don't know, like an oil derrick. I also like how a lot of the excess pooled onto the base of the model, giving it this really slick, kind of oil slick, dark, metallic surface that I think fits really nicely as well. It's not as much contrast as I typically like for a basing scheme, so I might experiment with adding some rust colors here and there, but regardless, we are on to the next step of the model, which is the lighting. I did want to get a nice warm tone for all of the cool colors that were happening in this scheme between the grays, the blacks, silvers, and blue. So we got out our titanium bold white from Pro Acryl and got those light sources first painted up solidly white. And then I didn't have any yellow fluorescent paint, and I thought about doing orange briefly because that is a contrasting color to blue, but I decided to go with a normal yellow paint to mix it up because, again, orange is a color reserved by my Mechanicus forces, and I wanted to do something different. So we used our normal yellow paint, and it still looks pretty good. I'll probably come back with some fluorescent paint to just get that extra little bit of pop in there, but overall I'm quite happy with this model. So without further ado, let's welcome the first cultist in the circle of the drowned king. I very much hope you enjoyed this video and me kind of figuring out and displaying how I come up with color schemes. This overall, I mean, I've heard Genestealer Cultists are a really difficult army to paint, but I felt like this was relatively easy. It might just be because it came from Admech. But overall, I think paint schemes can be as easy or hard as you want them to be. And I hope to demonstrate this with further videos, so make sure you stay subscribed so you don't miss those. Also, what are your opinions on Genestealer Cult? Are they currently plaguing the competitive meta? Am I a dirty meta chaser? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like, as it always helps the channel out. And I'll see everybody next time. Peace!